Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Great to be here. We're really excited to see everybody. We appreciate how nice everybody is. Great to be in the Midwest. I tell people, normally when I want to do Midwestern nice, I just go to Fort Myers in January, and I have half the Midwest there. But we love everybody that comes down to Florida, but particularly Southwest Florida from Iowa and other parts.
Thank you. Well, listen, good friend, former colleague, governor from Florida, and so I appreciate that and appreciate the friendly competition. So Ron's out there doing the 99 county tour. I think you may be ahead of me. Hey, you know what? We're in Iowa, and in Iowa, we're Iowa nice. So let's give everybody the opportunity to hear our candidates. So we'll stop until you do, but we're all going to have an opportunity to hear from each and every candidate. That's what we've been doing. So, okay, so you're doing the 99 county tour. I'm very competitive. I think you may be ahead of me in your visit.
So far.
Whoa, no.
Okay. So I always understood you have an opportunity to work hard, get the most out of your God-given ability.
And yet nobody has been held accountable in the federal government for their disastrous lockdown policies. We're going to bring a reckoning to that so that this never happens to our country ever again. The federal bureaucracy and then the weaponization of federal power. And we need to restore our military to its proper place.
Start using it is you stop making them do gender pronoun classes. Like, that's gotta stop. We pull down the bureaucracy in the department.
We love Trump! 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 We love Trump!
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Glad you're all tuned in. Glad you're here. Hope everybody's having a nice, had a good weekend anyway, and having a nice Monday. Really, it started off crappy here. We got like some rain, and then all of a sudden the clouds broke, the sun come out, and now it's beautiful. You know, like they say in Maine, you know, if you don't like the weather, wait a while, okay? And even though we have global warming, it was as true decades ago as it is today. You know, I think when it comes to Maine, there's always going to be swift changes in weather here, no matter what time of year it is. But at least it's nice out and the sun come out and everybody's out. And we had like 2 concerts here over the weekend. I think one of them was Dixie Chicks. I can't remember what the other one was. But it was busy here over the weekend. And the restaurants were full and the traffic was heavy. And, you know, when I went to have lunch at Chili's today, I was talking to one of the waitresses, and she said that yesterday that place was a madhouse. And they don't have enough people in there to manage that. It's too few workers there, and it's a good thing that all the workers are young, okay? Because if they were old people, they'd have died, you know, working there at, you know, at those with the pace that these young people have to work in there to keep up. But yeah, they said it was terrible there over the weekend. But they knew that there was events happening in downtown Bangor, and so they expected it, I think. It's when it happens, and it's like you're never mentally prepared for it, but you know it's coming. You know. So anyway, that's kind of the short and the long of it, what went on here in the last 2-3 days. So in Ohio, they had, I guess over the weekend they had sort of like rallies, dual rallies going on. Rallies for the criminal Trump and rallies for the criminal wannabe DeSantis. You know, and before they even got their chance to, you know, run their mouth over whatever bullshit they were going to hand these people, fights were breaking out in the crowd. Fights between Trump supporters and DeSantis supporters. And, you know, this kind of justified what I had been saying online here for the last week or so about how the Republican Party is fractured. And that right there is a damn good example of what I was talking about. People in the Republican Party are very, very fractured right now because they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They got two evils that are going to be running for the primary in days to come, and neither one of them are getting a lot of positive energy here. I mean, I know DeSantis is way behind Trump on the numbers, but there's still a lot of people that don't want Trump either. You know, there's still a lot of Trump, and you know, and even though one or the other is going to end up being the the primary running mate, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be enough support in the Republican Party to be able to see that either one of them become president. So the Democrats, you know, they're poised to create another landslide victory like what happened against Trump in the last presidential election. This is the time, and the Democrats shouldn't squander it just because, you know, they feel like the Republicans can't win anyway. Always get out and vote no matter what. You know, don't let a good thing turn bad because you figure, it's easy to, you know, don't downplay it. You know, vote anyway. Make sure that they lose. And if everybody gets out and votes like they did the last time, yeah, they're going to lose. Okay, there's no doubt about it. And, you know, people just need to keep up with the news and find out, or not find out, but just to remind themselves what kind of people the Republicans feel they can offer us, you know, for their party. And if that's the best they can come up with, they've got nobody. They've got nobody. Even though they've got better in the Republican Party, which still might not win, but they have better people, you know, what I would say loosely, you know, like, let's just say Governor Christie would be a better candidate than Donald Trump. He'd be a better candidate than Ron DeSantis. I'm not saying he'd be good for president, but he'd be a better choice than those two bozos there that they're pushing right now. Okay? Mitt Romney would be a better candidate than Donald Trump, than Ron DeSantis. Okay? But these people, unfortunately, are not going to get their chance because the Republican Party has fragmented and dissolved into this cult group of people. And what happens when you have a cult? Who do you think gets chosen to be the head of this cult? A person that's is wackier than everybody that follows them, right? That's usually what happens. Cults are led by nuts, and that's what's happened to the Republican Party. Is it's dissolved into nuttism. Okay, people should really understand that when something like that is out there, you should avoid it. I mean, let's talk about another cult, Scientology. Okay, now I don't know how much you know about that group of folks out there in Florida, that Scientology stuff, but they're really, you know, they're shady, a very shady group that's running that, and there's a lot going on there that many people who were in that thing could tell you it's something to avoid, okay, because they know what it's all about. But that is a cult, okay? That's a fucking cult. And we have a cult like that now in our own government, and we should avoid it like the plague because nothing good is ever going to come out of that. Nothing good for us anyway. It's all these people are all being sold a bill of goods by this cult, thinking that they're doing something that's going to benefit them. But you know what? That's the same old trope that the Republicans have been pulling on people for decades in this country. They go out there and they promise all their voters that things are going to get better. And when they get into power, what happens? Economy falls, okay? We have people losing jobs everywhere. They start attacking benefits. Minimum wage is no longer efficient anymore, and they don't even want to raise it. I mean, these people are all against us when it comes to that. So anyway, let me read you this article here about what went on out there in Des Moines. Okay, this article here is written by Adam Wren and Alex Isenstadt, published in Politico. Entitled "Trump Supporters and DeSantis Super PAC Officials Spar at a Des Moines Dive." Hours before Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis descended on the Iowa State Fair for rare in-person dual events, supporters for each of the leading candidates were at each other's throats, including at a dive bar in the capital city. At nearly every one of his stops on Saturday, DeSantis found himself fiercely bracketed by Trump supporters who seemed eager to not just disrupt the Florida governor, but to get a rise out of his team. Sitting down for a fair side chat with Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, DeSantis was drowned out by bells and whistles as he flipped pork burgers at the pork tent. A flock of Trump supporters chanted, quote, "We love Trump," unquote, in his direction. Outside the pork tent, things were even dicier. One Trump supporter could be heard trying to convince a man in a DeSantis shirt that DeSantis hadn't done enough as Florida governor to prevent pedophilia and child trafficking. The DeSantis supporter was unmoved. The attention at the fairgrounds underscored just how vitriolic the primary season has grown between the two camps, a reflection of the sharp-elbowed approach that each candidate has made central to their public image. It's a dynamic that has begun spilling over into non-political settings as well. The night before the camps squared off at the state fair, an incident took place between the two at a bar in downtown Des Moines. According to three people who were at the Cooper Cup, officials with the DeSantis allied Super PAC, Never Back Down, that's the name of it, Never Back, got into a shouting match with a Trump backer not affiliated with the campaign wearing Trump garb. The exact nature of what was said is disputed, though each side agreed that it centered on the Trump hats some of the patrons were sporting. Fairgoers have been spotted wearing Trump back-to-back champ Iowa State Fair hats, which suggests incorrectly that the former president won the caucus there in 2016. And according to two witnesses, it was those hats that sparked a response from Aaron Perrin, one of the Never Back Down officials. Quote, "You know you lost," unquote, one witness recalled Perrin saying. The resulting shouting match lasted several minutes. Multiple F-bombs were dropped, of course. At one point, a Trump supporter made a lewd comment to Perrin. A fourth person familiar with the events told Politico, slow it down, events told Politico, no physical fights ever occurred. Perrin declined to comment. The bad blood spilled over into Saturday. DeSantis supporters scoffed as a plane flew a banner overhead reading, "Be likable, Ron." Looking up at the sky, Matt Wells, the Washington County chair for DeSantis Iowa operation, muttered that, quote, "Trump people are degenerates," unquote. The tension at times had a Sharks and Jets vibe underscored by the respective uniforms adopted by each side. DeSantis backers were dressed in navy blue t-shirts embroidered with the Never Back Down name of the governor's allied Super PAC. Trump fans wore white, quote, "Team Trump," unquote. shirts and carried green, white, and yellow signs that read, quote, President Donald J. Trump, back-to-back Iowa champ, unquote. The mudslinging was accompanied by real politicking. The people wearing Never Back Down shirts fanned out across the crowd at the pork tent, engaging in one-on-one conversations with fairgoers, trying to sell them on why DeSantis was the better candidate than Trump. While Trump supporters waited for Trump to arrive at the Steer and Stein on Saturday, several people Steer and Stein. Oh, that's a good one. Fucking name like that. Steer and Stein. Leave it to the Trump camp to find the weirdest fucking avenues there to take and have a party at. Oh, Jesus. Several people wielding DeSantis signs walked by the open-air bar. The room of Trump fans erupted into booing. That's the end. Oh, man. You know, this whole article sounds like a friggin' circus here about what went on out there. But you see, people in the Republican Party, all this time they've been telling us to shut up, you know, the Democrats, you know, that Trump won and all this and that. You see, they knew all along that he didn't win. The fact is, they're saying it to themselves right now, that, you know, because they're divided into two camps now. And so you got the DeSantis people telling the Trump people, hey, he never won anyway. You know, they know. They always knew that cocksucker never won. Okay? You see? So when they tell you that he won, they're just trying to incite fights, okay? They're gaslighting you is what they're doing. They know he lost. But no matter, you know, but they'll never admit it to the Democrats, but they'll certainly admit it to when they're fighting amongst themselves, right? So, you know, you see, the truth comes out. It always does. The truth comes out, and a lot of the Republicans, through the, you know, when they was doing the hearings, remember, they watched. I knew they would. They say we didn't watch it. Bullshit. They watched. Okay, the Republicans watched, and some of them were convinced at that point that yes, Trump did some shit that he shouldn't have done. Okay, and he broke the law, and that's when the fracture began. From that point on, which the hearings, what were last year, I think, yeah. At that point, up to now, the Republican Party has been splintering into factions. There is no unified Republican Party right now. Okay, it's not unified. In fact, they don't even want to follow under the banner of the Republican Party. They want to be their own thing. Both of these fuckers. Okay, you got the Trumplicans and the death sentence people. Okay, they don't want to be affiliated with the Republican Party because they for years they kept saying they're too moderate. They side with the Democrats too much. Okay, to them being moderate is saying no all the time to the Democrats. What they want is violence. They want hatred. They want violence. That's what their side wants. That's the extremist side of the arm of the Republican Party. To them, they're not happy unless there's blood on the streets. And the proof is right with this story I just read. You see, they were at each other's throats. They were starting fights. They were going at it. Because that's all they know. If you know when they're confronted with facts and they can't counter those facts, they get pissed. And when they get pissed, they get violent. And if there's a gun around, they're going to use it. That's what makes them dangerous. That's what makes them a cult. Okay, and that's why the Republican Party, as we once knew it, is gone. It's gone. It's no more. Mitch McConnell might as well die right now because his weight in that whatever is left of that party means nothing anymore now. Okay, he can't rally that party together. His usefulness is over. Okay, all he does is say what they want him to say, but he can't do any good. So he might just as well fucking retire. I don't know why he won't retire. He might as well get out of it. He's got all he's ever going to get now from being a politician. He's at the time now where he can't really enjoy the benefits anymore of what he's gained in that for himself. So he might as well just say, okay, I'm out of here, you know, just like Pelosi, I'm leaving too. Obviously, I'm not needed anymore, so I'm getting the fuck out of here. That's what he needs to do. Just go. Get the hell away from politics. Your days are gone, because you're not really the elephant in the room anymore, McConnell. You got Trump, and you got DeSantis, and the other freaks that are coming up into their ranks. Okay, they're the ones that we have to pay attention to now. You guys from that generation are done. Okay, you're done and you should be gone out of the fucking system. But you're clinging on to power like it's your last gasp at life or reason. But you know, you've outlived your usefulness. Okay, for some people anyway. But you know, these people here, the Republican Party has turned their party into a cult. And, you know, we should have saw that way back in the Reagan years when we saw how the Reagan people, the administration, was really undermining everything that this country had tried to make progress into doing. If the rich got their hands into that party, and that was the creation of the Reagan administration, and from that point on, everything was being taken away from the middle and lower class and sucked right up to the top class. And ever since then, that party has been just declining like you wouldn't believe. Okay, and I wish everybody today would have lived those years, because they would see it. All right, is this one thing about reading about it in history, but it's a whole other thing when you experience how it went. Okay, because you got to see the details of things that went on in there, you know, and how everything kind of evolved and kept rolling like a snowball down the hill to the point where the problem got so big we couldn't stop it. And so, you know, for people that are like born after the year 2000, you know, there was a lot done to this country by then that really couldn't be undone, because we just didn't have the Democrat clout in order to reverse it. You know what I'm saying? We just didn't have that kind of strength there to be able to undo the madness that the right wing had been doing for 2-3 terms. You know what I'm saying? We had more Republican control of the government, you know, than Democrat, and so they really shafted this country bad, you know. And it's all because I think of, you know, what happened, you know, Roosevelt, you know, the New Deal, all that stuff. It was just something that they could not fucking swallow, and they had to bide their time and wait for the right time in which to come out and you know, destroy the New Deal in slices, you know, which they've done quite a bit. Okay, they've really ruined a lot of stuff. The country was strong up to that point, but after that, you know, we had Japan coming over here. Remember, they were buying up all kinds of American Christ, we were at danger of losing our own country to Japan because they were coming over here buying up all our land. You know, and that's the kind of shit that was going. We were selling America off to the highest bidder, to different countries, and then all of a sudden we wanted to get rid of our businesses. You know, well, not we. I'm saying the rich wanted to move their businesses elsewhere so they could get slave labor. And once they did that, I mean, this country just collapsed like you wouldn't believe. You know, after that, I mean, it was noticeable. It was noticeable. You know, it didn't take much to wait for that. So, anyway, let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
Yes, the medical stuff, I'm very good on that, so that does appeal to me.
The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. You know, I'll just say this one thing. Trusting the experts is not a function of science. It's not a function of democracy. It's a function of religion and totalitarianism.
He flooded Facebook with the information that measles vaccine is killing children in Samoa. As a consequence, vaccination rates fell from 70% to 30%. There were 57,000 cases of measles and 83 deaths. Most of those deaths were in children less than 4 years of age.
Your physician is getting paid bonuses, in many cases $400 per vaccine. It's the product of a pharmaceutical-driven biosecurity agenda that will enslave the entire human race. The World Health Organization is even more captured than CDC is. I see somebody on a hiking trail carrying a little baby, and I say to them, better not get them vaccinated. You cannot trust medical advice from medical professionals.
Sick him on the FDA if he'd be willing to serve, or sick him on CDC.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
his best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. All right, so there's another article here from The Guardian that's kind of does an analysis of the whole mess that went on there over the weekend over at Iowa. Did I say Ohio before? I meant Iowa. I'm sorry. I always get the Ohios and the Iowas mixed up, you know. Okay. Okay, yeah, so here's this article, and it's titled, Anger and Radicalization, Rising Number of Americans Say Political Violence is Justified. Written by Kira Lerner. The June federal indictment of Donald Trump is, quote-unquote, radicalizing support for the use of force on behalf of the former president and current presidential candidate, according to the author of a recent survey about threats to democracy. Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, support for violence to restore the federal right to an abortion has also increased over the last few months, researchers found, although there's little indication that any organized group supporting acting on this belief. The Dangers to Democracy report indicates that a growing number of Americans support the use of political violence as of the 2024 presidential campaign heats up, and further indictments of Trump are probably imminent. Quote, the indictment is radicalizing support for Trump, but that's not the only source of radicalization, unquote, said Robert Pape, a University of Chicago professor who led the research. Quote, you're seeing growing anger and radicalization on the left as well, unquote. The number of Americans who believe the use of force is justified to restore Trump to the White House increased by roughly 6 million in the last few months to an estimated 18 million people, according to the survey conducted by the university in late June and shared exclusively with The Guardian. Excuse me. Of those 18 million people, 68% believe that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump, and 62% believe the prosecutions of Trump are intended to hurt his chances in 2024. An estimated 7% of Americans now believe violence could be necessary to restore Trump to the presidency, up from 4.5% or 12 million people back in April. But over the same period, Trump's general favorability slightly decreased among Republicans, the survey found. The university's Chicago Project on Security and Threats Research Center has been conducting Dangers to Democracy surveys of American adults on political violence and attitudes towards democracy since shortly after the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The most recent report marks the first increase in radical violent support for Trump since April of 2022, according to Pape, who directs CPOST. Quote, the public is more radicalized than it was in April, and it's really quite significant, unquote, he said. Quote, we've been tracking this quite a while, and this is a really big bump, unquote. Still, a radicalized public isn't enough for actual violence to occur, Pape said. He compared the support to kindling, but said Trump would have to give a speech or rally inciting people to act at a certain time to light the fire, as he did in Washington on January the 6th. 2021. Democrats, however, expressed support for political violence for a different purpose. The survey found support for the use of force to coerce members of Congress to, quote, do the right thing, unquote, grew from 9% in January to 17%. An estimated 44 million Americans at the end of June, with the sharpest rise among Democrats. Support for violence to restore the federal right to an abortion also increased during this time. Okay, let's see what they got. Political actions that a minority of Americans believe justify the use of force. This is a graph here that's shown here on this article. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got, there we go. It's got questions and it shows the responses. Okay, let me read this off here. Political actions that a minority of Americans believe justify the use of force. Here's the one at the top of the list. 18.6% said protect the voting rights of black Americans and other minorities. They figured that use of force is needed there. What came up second? Ensure members of Congress and other government officials to do the right thing. That was 17.3%. Restore the federal right to abortion, 12.3%. Prevent Donald Trump from becoming president, 11.6%. Prevent the teaching of CRT, critical race theory, in schools, 9.3%. Preserve the rights of whites, 8.5%. Prevent the prosecution of Trump, 7.07%, I guess. And let me see, what the hell? How many people did they ask? Okay, they asked 3,543 adults in this question thing here. And they have a margin of error of 2.3%. And they asked this in June. Okay? So with that many, it was 3,000. Okay, that's just a tiny, tiny slice here of people in this country. But this is the percentage of votes answered. That's what, okay. Okay, let me continue reading this. Quote, things are definitely heading in the wrong direction in terms of the radicalization of the country, and we need to be aware of that because there were some hopes that the Trump indictment would actually reduce support for Trump, unquote, Pape said. Survey respondents also said they view Trump as a bigger threat to democracy than President Biden, with a difference of 52% to 33%. Researchers also asked participants about support for dangerous conspiracy theories, including whether they believe that a secret group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles is ruling the government. The number of people who believe that statement, a major tenet of the QAnon conspiracy theory, increased slightly, although the change was no greater than the margin of error. The survey also found that nearly 90% of Trump's most radical supporters believe the federal government is run by a quote-unquote deep state of immoral people. And you know, they use that term deep state. What the fuck do they mean deep state? What are they talking about? You know, Jesus. I think they like the terminology, but they don't understand, you know, what the hell they're talking about. They just like using the words deep state because it sounds like, you know, the X-Files or something, you know. With more indictments of Trump likely to come in the next few weeks, both from the federal government and the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney, Pape said he was concerned that further radicalization of the public is likely to occur. As Trump faces more complicated legal trouble and the 2024 election season gets underway, with the first GOP debate just 1 month away, the number of Americans who believe that the 2020 election was stolen from him remains largely unchanged at roughly 20%. Things are, quote, things are going in the wrong direction of radicalization. We haven't even gotten into the really heated part of the 2024 election season, unquote, Pape said. Okay, so that's that. That's the end of that. So, yeah, what we're seeing here is in both parties now, Democrat and Republican, people are getting pissed. They're getting pissed because this has been dragging on too fucking long. And I'll tell you why that they're getting pissed is because what you got is you got the trials happening finally after what, 8 years? Okay, you got the trials happening that should have happened way back, and you got Ron DeSantis down there making, you know, adding more wood to the fire, as it were, getting people more and more angry. And then you got other Republican governors out there also putting more wood in the fire, you know, by cutting into schools and abortion rights and all this shit. So it's not really just Trump and DeSantis, but it's the whole ensemble of Republican characters here in their party that's been, you know, running their part of the government into the ground. Basically, chipping away at freedoms, at privacy. They've been doing this all along here. And now people are getting fed up with it. They're getting pissed. Okay, they don't want this to go on anymore. Even the people who once supported, okay, the bans on abortion, now they're starting to say that they were too strict. There was an article I read that was published in Texas that said that some people in Texas now are starting to get sick of the strictness of it, because now they can't get help when they need it, because the doctors are afraid to do a goddamn thing to help them. They don't know where the hell the line is in this thing to where they can't cross. So people are getting sick of it and saying, they got to back off on this, because they went too radical in outright banning abortions. Okay, that doesn't solve anything, because when you start cutting into people's rights with absolutes, eventually people are going to get sick of those absolutes, and they're going to want that to be undone. Okay, when a law is created and it doesn't allow, okay, for circumstances, okay, then that law is unjust, and people, always people have to learn the hard way. How many times do I got to say that? People are so stubborn in America that they have to learn everything the hard fucking way. They got to go through the misery and the mud in order to say, okay, we shouldn't have done that, and then come out, take a bath, and go the other way. This is the way Americans work. Okay, I don't know how it is in other countries. All I know is my experiences here in the United States, and I can tell you that if there's any wrong choice to make, we're going to make the wrong choice first, and then we'll learn to do the right thing last. Okay, that's the way we work in America. It doesn't matter how many smart people come to you and tell you this is the better way. It doesn't matter how many professors, try to map out what we did before and why we shouldn't repeat these things. We're always going to repeat mistakes in the past, and we've been doing that, and we're still doing that. That's why you got, racism still prominent out there today. Okay, we may not be whipping them at the poll, but we're whipping them financially. Okay, we're trying to keep them from getting into power. Okay, you saw what happened in what was it, Tennessee, Kentucky? The two representatives that were black. Okay, you saw what happened down there. Okay, fortunately they got their jobs back, but the thing of it is that because they're so racist down that way, that those people never had a chance to be heard, and they didn't want to hear them. So we still live under a thumb of oppression. More so for some than others. Okay, when I say we, I'm not, but it's still going on, and we still have to keep fighting, because clearly we didn't fight hard enough the last time, because these people scurried away into the darkness and stayed there until the time was right to come out and flourish, and Trump was that light that they needed in order to come out. So he came out, they come out. And then we found out to our dissatisfaction that, hey, we still have a big friggin' race problem in this country that just won't stop. And it's in everything. We can't even trust our own police force to do the right thing in a lot of cases. Not saying all the cops are bad, but there's a lot of them out there that are bad, and they seem to get all the attention, making everybody look bad. That's a cop, okay? So we have that problem, and these people in the right wing, their fight with each other, DeSantis and Trump people, they're fighting over something that the Democrats have already been trying to convince these two people all along, okay? But like I said, they never would admit it to a Democrat, but they're sure going to use it to sling mud at each other on the outside when they're talking to each other, okay? So I just feel like, hey, if you guys are gonna try and kill each other here over this, then please do it quickly, so that way we don't have to worry about your nuts going up to the friggin' voting booth and pulling the lever here for the nut of your choice, okay? Because we really don't need to go back to the Trump years. Or try to venture into the DeSantis years, which I think would be even worse, because one's an idiot and one isn't, But I think that with the Republican cult, like I said, don't want to say it's a party anymore. It's more of a cult now. But with those people out there, and with their party split, you know, maybe not right down the middle, but it is split. And if it's already like that now, imagine just a few more months from now what it'll be like, okay, as they get closer and closer to the primary. I mean, you've already got Chris Christie out there slamming both these guys, okay? There'll be others that'll come out, and, you know, so that the whole party is going to be at each other's throats in different ways, you know, and I see more fracturing occurring as we get closer to the primary season next year. By the time the Republicans get to the thing, I mean, it's going to be a bloodbath, you know, because if they're already promising that they're going to use violence to get their way, then people had better stay the hell away from anybody that's a Republican, because if they're going to get pissed off and cry and moan and everything that they didn't win, they're likely to get a gun out and just, you know, go shoot up a school, or take it out on a police officer, or, you know, some restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Nowhere will be safe, because these people are going to be so unhinged and despondent that they're just going to, you know, do something stupid and then kill themselves after. That's the kind of people right now that we got to deal with. Now, as far as the Democrats being angry, look, I can understand the Democrats being pissed off at spending all this time trying to bring knowledge to the right wing, but you've been wasting your time, people, and I've been saying that all along. Stop trying to discuss things with them online. Stop trying to get into debates with them online, because they will never, ever tell you that you are right. Ever. Even though they know you are, they're not going to admit it, okay? They just won't. So forget them. If you're on Twitter and you're fighting with these people, get the hell off Twitter. Let the maggots have that fucking website. Okay, well, they call it X now. It's not even Twitter. Whatever they want to call that thing. Let them have it. Just get the hell away from those people out there, okay? Because, you know, let them destroy that social website, okay? I don't know why they wanted that in the first place. It's just because of that stupid rich bastard there that wanted that for himself, and, you know, whatever he's done to it, it ain't doing him any good. But like I said, don't waste your time talking to these people. Stay the hell away from them. When they start running off at the mouth about Trump this and Trump that, and you're always such a great, you know, just go to the next person and talk to them. Don't waste your time, because you're just going to walk away chewing your fingernails and, you know, looking for a gun or some damn thing, because they're going to piss you off that much, and it's not worth ruining your friggin' career, your life, your family's life, you know, because you can't control your temper. Don't do what they did on January the 6th. It's not worth it, okay? The government is still after those people. They're still finding them and arresting them, okay? Don't end up being in prison along with those people. You know, they don't deserve to have Democrats in there to beat each other up over, you know what I'm saying? Let them answer for their own shit. They started this whole mess of using violence to get their way. Don't be the dummy and step into their shit and do the same goddamn thing, okay? Let them fall on their own fears. So, anyway, that's what was going on over the weekend, and I thought it was kind of funny, because, like I said at the beginning, this really illustrates what I've been trying to tell people on different websites about how the Republican Party has kind of fallen apart. And a lot of people saying, well, I don't see evidence of that. Well, hello. Over the weekend, there's a big piece of evidence right there that shows that the party is more fractured than we thought. And it's only going to get worse from this point on as they get closer to the primary. So we're really going to see that what's left of the Republican Party just simply, you know, melt. And it's going to descend into a bunch of little cults. You know, and what we're going to have is we're going to see a reflection of that in Congress as the House members start to try to curry up to their supporters by behaving insane, okay, which is really going to show us just how fucking off the wall they've gotten to this point. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Subscribe, comment if you want to say anything. Love to hear from you. And keep your ears open for any local COVID-19 news out there. You know, treat each other nice. You know, I know I've been saying that, but it seems like the more I say it, the more violent things are getting. Maybe I ought to shut up. I don't know. I'm just saying, look, you know, we don't have to be violent, okay? We don't have to. We can just get up and say, I'm not going to be vicious and violent today. I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to avoid fights and avoid confrontations about things I know are going to get people riled up. I'm just going to do my own thing and leave it alone. All right? Sometimes you got to do that. You got to take a break from it, and that's the way to do it. So I'll see you all later. So take care.